Right on, guys. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I want to talk about some mindset and just not giving up. So I think this is pretty key. Misty and I talk about this a lot. We actually talk about it. We don't really think about it a whole lot because we just do it. But a lot of people look for a magic formula. They want to, they hope that they find something that's gonna like break through, or and then they get disappointed when it doesn't happen. Right? They're like, oh man, this sucks. But, I think one of the biggest things, and I know one of my superpowers that I talk about some, and I think it's good to talk about it here because obviously, if you guys are listening to this, you're interested in real estate investing, and real estate is a business. I mean, it's what it is. We are real estate entrepreneurs, right? And so, one of the things is not giving up because obviously, whenever you start something, I think back and I remember, I know when we started, I remember thinking about how cool it'd be to have X amount of properties and make X amount of money. And you daydream about that. And at some level, the daydream keeps you going. But if you daydream about it too much and then you don't get there fast enough, most people get discouraged, right? So they kind of get to like, oh man, this is just not going as fast, and they want to quit. I think like I mentioned, superpower for me is just not giving up. There's a lot of things that I know Misty and I do, and I think Misty can say as well that, she doesn't think about it. She just gets up, she does it. It's the mundane shit, right? That's what makes you better. That's what makes you grow is the day to day, the mundane. It's not very it's not very sexy. It's not very fun, right? That's what we look for.
Yeah.
Most people look for the sexy stuff, right? They want it to be quick and fast, but it's not it.
Flashy.
Flashy. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. It's just, that's not it, right? So, we had one of our, we have an agent that works with us, and I got a lot of love for this agent. And the other day he told me, he told me, he tried something. And again, I commend this agent, by all means. He's working to hustle, he's trying to working to build his own brand, his own thing. And so, but he finally said, "Story, I'm just going to listen to you." But, one of the things that he was trying all sorts of different things, and I'm like, he finally was like, "I'm just going to listen to you." But one thing that he did say that why I know he will succeed is because he goes, "It doesn't matter how many times that I messed up. I just, I'm just going to keep going. I learned from it." Right. And I think that's the biggest part because most people will just give up after the first time it doesn't work. And they're like, ugh, you know, I mean, imagine here the podcast. We come in, we record. If we just gave up, what I mean, no one's going to know the stories. No one's going to get to meet these individuals that we're otherwise talking to. I mean, it's the same thing. So
Mhm.
your business is the same thing. So that's just really what it comes down to. You have to be able to not give up when it's not working fast enough. You see it all the time, Misty.
Yeah, a lot of people, the results aren't fast enough for them. And so they give up and move on. But if they would have just stuck with it and just continued that little momentum each day, moving it forward, sometimes it takes a while for it to pay off,
Yeah,
for you to actually see the results.
maybe not necessarily staring at the result the whole time, right?
Yeah,
Maybe just work the improvement part.
correct.
Constantly think about, okay, how can I make an improvement on this? Maybe there's something that, you look at and you go, hmm, I made a mistake there. How can I fix it? And I think that's where the superpower should come in. I think more people are focused on the end result
Hmm.
as if that was going to drive them, but it's not necessarily the end result. It should be the, execution of the daily tasks that otherwise should drive them, right? That's really what it comes down to.
And being consistent with it.
Being consistent. I see that a lot. Let's kind of step back and relate that to agents, just for, getting your license. Industry standard says it's going to take 6 to 8 months or so to get your first deal, which I can see that being the case for some individuals. And I also know for other individuals, that's not the case. I know that
Correct.
wasn't for us, right? We knocked it out pretty quick. But, what happens is most people, they get their license and they just kind of they fall out because it's not happening fast enough. They didn't stay in there. They didn't stay in the fight.
They didn't really have a game plan. They just thought it was this magical license. You get your license and wow, you can make all this money.
Right.
But there's no plan
Yeah. There's no plan to it. You just kind of
and
go.
there's no execution.
Right. Exactly. but that license, same thing with business. You start a business and you're like, that's it. I know I can say it over and over. You start a business and you get done, or you start it up, you're telling your friends, you're like, yeah, I'm going to start this business. It's sexy. You feel good. You're like, yeah. And then you realize you're left with nothing but a bunch of work and you're disappointed because you're not making any money. And you're like, fuck, this sucks, man. And then you start thinking about, well, maybe I should quit. Maybe I shouldn't stay here. Maybe I should just stop now. And you might have family members to tell you, just stop. But if you could take a step back from that mindset, that's why we're talking mindset here right now. If you could take a step back from that and instead say, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm going to make it happen. No matter how long we go, I'm going to make this thing happen. And then you just keep working at it over and over and over until it happens. You'll become a different person by the time you're done with it. You'll have grown so much more internally, because in order to get what you want, you've got to change who you are at some point,
Mhm.
right? That's it. You can't be the same person. In order to get what you want, you got to change who you are. And so, if you're willing to give up so fast, then it makes, it makes it hard. So your superpower should be staying in there. I tell our boys all the time, what's dad's superpower? He doesn't quit. Just doesn't quit. It doesn't cross my mind to just stop. And it shouldn't cross your mind as you listen to this. If you're going through something that's difficult, going through something that's hard, and you're like, man, this is really hard for me to do. I don't know what the hell to do. It should never cross your mind to quit. And it should not cross your mind to pivot, to go, well, I'm just going to change directions. Only change directions if what you're doing isn't working for the right reasons. Maybe it's just not the right approach, but it doesn't mean it doesn't work. Maybe you adjust your approach, but just to completely pivot, go to the next thing, that's just not going to work.
When COVID happened, a lot of people had to pivot.
Right. Yeah. That was a pivot. Like, all right, switch gears, 'cause now things change. Exactly. But and then some people kept the same approach or stayed on approach and just kind of changed their approach a little bit. But the ones that won were the ones that didn't give up. And that's
Mhm.
really what this is about. That's what this here that we're talking about is just that ability to just not give up. I think if you have that, you know, something that I want to share, for the audience. I know some of you guys I know, or some of you guys listen to this probably do jujitsu. So I want to share a quick jujitsu story. I think this might help. You know, if you guys know anything about me, I've had my black belt for 15 years. I didn't compete all through those years, or through my color belt years. I stopped, and then of course, black belt, picked it up again. But I did it. It was like third degree black belt, something like that. I had a lot more experience, but I knew it was going to be ass whooping to get through certain to one side or the other. And I'm going to tie this in, but I knew it was going to be difficult. But I knew that if I just stayed on it and I was competing over and over, I was going to get better. Well, at the date of this recording, we're at 90 plus tournaments, but I remember that first tournament was an ass whooping. I go in and get tapped out. I lose really quick. That can be related to business. If you do jujitsu and you listen to this, that's related to business. The same thing, right? Tournament number 90, I promise you, I am totally different than what I am when it was tournament number one. I remember the struggles, but business is the same way. You start the business and you're just struggling and struggling and struggling and struggling. Some people call it the struggle bus, or whatever you want to call it. And then you're looking far ahead. But if you just put your head down, I imagine myself like I have a shovel and I'm just digging, and I don't look back. Like I don't throw the dirt out and then look back and go, how much farther do I have to go? It doesn't cross my mind. I just keep digging. It's the trenches, digging and digging. We're just digging along. And then one day I'll take a breather, just step up, look up for a second. I'm like, damn, I've really come a long way. The same thing revolves around real estate investing. The same thing revolves around, running a business. You've got to have that mindset where you just grab the shovel, you dig your ass all the way down as much as you can. You keep going and going and going, and you don't look back. And the last thing you think about is, is like, am I going to just quit? Because you have to know that when you start something, shit's going to get hard. It ain't going to be sexy. The results are, only people only, was that iceberg? You seen that? The iceberg, like the success where, the iceberg's
Oh,
really
yeah.
big underneath
Yeah.
and they only see the top of it and they're like, oh man, that's like really big and pretty. But underneath is like fucking massive.
Mhm.
That's what it is. No one sees that. The things you do in the dark, the things you do when no one's watching that suck, that those are the moments when you probably want to quit. Those are the moments, no one wants to quit when they win gold medal or when they, they're like, yeah, I made a lot of money. Like, no, they're excited to do it more, but then they don't realize like, no, you that was the result. That wasn't the actual work back there. You know, no one sees that stuff. And I think that's where people struggle because I'm sure there's probably people who, pay attention to us and they're like, oh man, they've got it like this and they've got it like that. But they don't see all the other shit you and I really go through. Like
Behind the scenes.
if they saw behind the scenes, they realize how unmagical it was. I'm sure my mentor Randy will listen to this, and if he does, I've told him the story before, but I remember you know seeing him. We were roommates at one time, actually, before me and Misty met. We were roommates. We were both making some life changes, and I ended up, becoming roommates for a moment. And I remember I used to think to myself, like, man, this guy, he makes a lot of money. He's magical. Like, what does he do? And then we lived together, and I realized this motherfucker just gets on his computer and sits in his room all day. He has no quit in him. He just gets on his computer, sits in his room all day, and he just gets after it. And he comes out and he like would come out and be like, "Hey man, how's everything?" I'm like, "I'm cooking food and shit." He's
Cooking
like,
some rice.
Cooking some rice, and he's like, "Man, we have our discussions and stuff." And I realized then and there, and this all ties into not giving up. I realized then and there how unmagical this guy really is, and I don't mean that in a bad sense.
Yeah.
But he's just human like the rest of us. And it really it was like, my mind just got blown. I was like, this dude his day-to-day routine ain't shit. It's nothing magical. He just gets up, makes his coffee, sits in his room on his chair, opens up his laptop, and just gets after it. And he doesn't quit. Does not quit. He makes adjustments. He'll adjust fire, right? You're shooting, and then you adjust fire.
I think one of the things that I've learned from you that helps with all of that is you always take care of yourself first.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
Yeah. And because I just go after my work and I just sit in the same spot forever, getting my work done. And the way you organize your day
all the time. Yeah.
And make sure that you're taken care of first and stuff, I think you can get more accomplished.
It's the oxygen mask. You've got to put your oxygen. I mean, you're on a plane, right? You know what I mean? I'm sorry, Misty. You're gonna die before me on the plane. That's just what's gonna happen. I'm gonna grab your oxygen mask, throw it on me, and then like, I'm cool. Here you go. You take it. You have to. You've got to take care of you. Otherwise everything else will fall apart. So that is important.
Kind of explain, what you do and how you set your day out. I think that would help a lot of people. Not only that, just time management.
I have alarms. I have straight alarms on my phone that like tell me exactly when my protein shake needs to be done, when when I'm supposed to wake up, when I'm supposed to go to bed. I have alarms of, when meetings are supposed to go off. I set alarms up. That's what I do. And then, again, it's the day to day, the monotony. I don't think about what I have to. I eat the same shit all the time, eggs and oatmeal. It's the same breakfast, coffee, full bottle of water. By the time 12 o'clock rolls around, I've already had 4 things of water. I've already drank half a gallon of water by the time 12 o'clock rolls around. That's one of my main things. Protein shakes at the same time. My food is taken care of to the point I don't have to think about it. It's just a part of what I do. And that, I think that helps a lot too. But more importantly, it's in there is I mean, aside from the day, I never think about, I just want to stop. It doesn't go through my head. Those words don't go through my head, no matter how crazy the day gets. So for me, it is regiment. You have to. I think if you're regimented and you understand that, to tying this into how to not quit, if you're regimented and you say, okay, look, I'm just gonna lay my day out as exactly like this. Boom, boom. I'll have a calendar. Our administrator, she sees it. The calendar, she knows, what I'm doing. And sometimes I forget to add things on the calendar and have to, you gotta be like, hey, Tori, you gotta add that. But she sees it, reschedule. But she sees the calendar, she knows, and I don't go off regiment. I don't. And again, like Misty said, it's when you're flying in a plane, the and it loses, they tell you when it loses pressure, oxygen mass drop. You put yours on first, and then after you help yourself, you help your neighbor. But you don't help your neighbor, and then you help you. You'll pass out. So if you're not taking care of your health, if you're not taking care of your body, all that stuff, it makes it hard. That's why I run. All those things, jujitsu, all those things are part of life because that's to keep me going. I may be in my late 30s of this recording right now, but I feel like I'm 20. It's just what it is. I feel like I'm 20. I feel like I have all the pee and vinegar left in me, and I still don't have a quit button. That's just it. And so you have to have that drive. See, that's why we're not talking about motivation here. I don't talk about, oh, you got to get motivated. It's a bath daily. Fuck that. That when it is drive. It's inside of you that says, I want to accomplish that. The chips on the shoulder. That's what it
I
is.
like your schedule and your alarms and stuff for things like tasks, work tasks that you need to get done as well. So like if you need to work on your social media or if you need to work on, reaching out to certain clients or, searching for properties or something, have that on the calendar and assign yourself 30 minutes or an hour each day. And that's your time to work on those. Because I know it's easy once you open up your Facebook app or something,
Oh, yeah.
you get caught up in it. And then 2 hours later, you're like, oh, I didn't get anything done
It's the
today.
dark hole, man. Don't do TikTok. It's even worse. Reels are worse. Yeah, I know it is, man. There's nothing wrong with any social media, but you are right. You can get lost into it, and
hmm
it can affect you.
Even
And
searching for properties, like I'll go through the MLS and start searching things. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder if there's, and your mind just goes places, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a cool looking property, or
yeah,
yeah, and so you can get lost in
and
that too.
and
So
how that ties to not giving up is you're structuring your day for success. You're structuring it so that you will make it happen. But again, it's a long-term game.
yeah, putting in those activities that are necessary to get the end result.
Yeah, because there's a lot of times we do things that we can think we're busy. We're like, oh, we're busy. I'm so busy. I got shit to do. I got and that's a word in our house all the time. It's get your shit together and I got shit to do. Those are the two things we tell our kids and we tell each other. Like, get your shit together and I got shit to do. Get out of the way. So, but you realize that when you stop and you think about it, there's only so many things you really need to get done in a day to make things move forward. And it doesn't take as much, and you have to have patience to make things move forward because nothing's going to move immediate. I mean, there's going to be stuff that's going to a title company might mess up on a check or something like that. There's so many things going to come in, and that law of average is going to come in and try to hit you upside the head,
Yep.
and you got to be prepared for it. So I think the way you prepare for that is by a structure. Structure helps you prepare for the law of average, and that'll come through and hit you on the head and stop everything for the day. And then of course, that structure helps you not quit because you're just going to stay consistent. And so that not wanting it too quickly, I mean, don't get me wrong, who doesn't want something to work fast? I do
Yeah.
all the time. Misty will tell you, right?
hmm
All the time. This shit's not working fast enough, Misty. But I may say that, but I don't actually stop and act on it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I take my time on it.
And I mean, if it did work too fast, I mean, you wouldn't really appreciate it as
Heck no,
much.
man. No way. You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You'd be like,
I
that
could
was
do it
easy.
again.
I can do it. Yeah, I can do it again. So absolutely. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna leave it at that. Just when it comes to the mindset, and again, this all ties to real estate, business, anything you do. You got to have that mindset of just, I don't quit. It needs not quitting, and needs to be a superpower. That needs to be your superpower. No matter what goes on, how difficult it gets, you just don't quit and you keep going. And if that means you need to structure your day when you do it, structure your day to do it. If that means that you've got to take care of yourself because you're not doing that, take care of yourself. That's just a big part of the day for me. Take care of myself, structure my day, and then just execute. Sometimes I look and I'm like, shit, the time went by really quick because it was execute, 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 keep going, go, 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 and that's it.
And use the focus and do not disturb on your cell phone.
Yes, actually, you're absolutely right. So that's another thing that'll help you too is your do not disturb and focus. I use that on my cell phone. So sorry guys if you know me personally and I don't get back to you. It's not that I don't like you. It's just you were not at the top of my inbox at that time. So who taught me that was Randy.
hmm
I used to be like, man, he doesn't get back to me. but I knew why. And then I'm like, because he told me, he's like, you gotta earn your way to the top of my inbox. And he also remember telling me that, depending upon what it is, if it was personal, he'd probably get back to me. If it was something that was business but didn't need to be handled right there, he'll get back to me later. That's what it was. I'm totally okay with that. It does not offend me at all.
Yeah.
I do the same thing to people, and sometimes I'm sure people look at me and go, "Man, he's an asshole. He never responded to me." No, you just didn't get. You weren't one of the ones to come. You were at the top of my inbox at that time. You re- you reached out to me for something that did not need to be handled
Right then and
right
there.
then and there. So, yeah, stay focused, guys. Use all those little tools; they help you. And then, of course, just don't quit, man. Stay in the game for the long term. Whatever you do, long term thinking has to be it. Because the short term, you'll get disappointed. So, all right, guys. Hope to catch you guys next time. You guys have a good one.